Welcome, everyone. Welcome to this next episode in our Global Coherence Pulse experience. We're in week 3 now of a month-long intensive. And I'd really like to invite us to go deeper today. You know, we created this intensive because it felt like this was the time that we needed to really deepen our presence and our practice of cultivating heart-centered coherence. And with everything that we're all facing right now in the planet, I think it was a good decision to do this together. And I really want to invite us to go much deeper today. And we have a beautiful council of women to support us to do that. And if you're coming on the line, the Zoom line, if you want to put your name in the chat and tell us where you're calling in from, please do that. It's nice for us to see that. And if you're on the Islands of Coherence website, there's a chat there, an opportunity for you to presence yourself and to share where you're calling in from. And if you're joining us now on Unify's Facebook page or our Global Coherence page, or on Earth Dance, I think is streaming us, and Awake TV, we welcome you to be here today. And in this next 2 hours, we have an opportunity to let go of everything else that's going on and really show up right here, right now, and bring our full presence to this moment and cultivate an island of coherence and pulse the planet with the level of coherence that we're able to generate together. Many of you have downloaded the Global Coherence app. We hope more and more of you will continue to do that. I'm not going to show the slides for that today. If you haven't done that, you can find information about it on the Islands of Coherence website. All you have to do is register for this free event, and there is so much great information available for you there, including all of the recordings of the past pulses. And I really want to encourage people to go back and watch some of those episodes. I know I've been doing it, and it's really, really helping me to kind of deepen my relationship to what the science is telling us and what my direct experience is telling us, which then makes it so that we're coherent with the truth of what is emerging right now, and we need that. So I really want to encourage that. And there'll be other announcements that we'll have at the end of the session about how you can be involved more. And I just want to have us kind of just settle in and get started. So I'm going to share my screen and take us on just a little journey to deepen the process before I introduce our panel and move into the main part of our session today. So I just want to say I'm so grateful to be here. I'm emotional this morning. Yeah, that's a good thing. Yeah. So I'm going to share my screen. Beginning of all of our events, we bring up this quote because it's very much a guiding theme for us. And when I heard this quote 20 years ago, when a system is far from equilibrium, small islands of coherence in a sea of chaos have the capacity to lift the system to a higher order. When I heard that quote, I knew in that moment, like right down to my cells, that we were the answer. And that one day, when our system was far from equilibrium, we would be needed. The quality of our heart-centered coherence would be needed. That would be the most important gift that we could give on the planet in that moment. And I believe that that moment is now. In fact, I'll change that. Instead of saying I believe, I'll say I know, like in my cells, that that moment is now. And in the face of the chaos, it's difficult to shift from fear and concern and rise above the collective energy into a state of heart coherence if we're doing it on our own. But together, in pulses like this, in movements like this, happening all around the planet, we have the capacity to stabilize at a higher level. And that's what we're inviting us to practice today. Because it is clear that we are a system, our human contrived systems, our natural systems as a result of our abuse are far from equilibrium. It is precariously unstable. And it is being highly manipulated by forces that would like it to stay unstable. And it is also highly potentiated all at the same time. And if we're really honest with ourselves and with each other right now, we would agree that what we're facing in together, all 7.8 billion of us, one interconnected global family, is massive. We're facing massive changes and disruptions on multiple levels and multiple scales. And if we're honest, we can humbly admit that at times it feels like there's no way out of this mess. At least not from where we are right now. There's no external authority that has the potential to fix the problems we face. That is clear. And so let's take a moment to pause right here and be present in this together. Because if we're going to have real impact, if we're going to be the change, we need to be 100% present to the truth of what is right now. And I'll just say the truth of what is right now is I was evacuated. There's huge fires happening in California where I live. HeartMath, Roland, Claire, Brian, all of the people from HeartMath, they've been evacuated. The whole compound is in jeopardy. 64,000 people have been evacuated from their homes and have no place to go, right? Like, just in a moment. The smoke is oppressive and challenging to our lungs, right? And really at a very challenging time with COVID and the threat of another wave coming. That's what I'm facing right now. That's what many are facing right now. What are you facing right now? Let's just be present in it, not push it away, not wish it was different than it is. Present in the truth of what is right now. Because this is where we begin. This is where our commitment and conscious cultivation of heart-centered coherence is needed most. This crisis we're facing together is the evolutionary driver calling us to cultivate our inner authority. There's not an outer authority that can help us. It is an inner authority. It is our a call to return to our natural state of heart-centered coherence and discover the power of our collective heart to heal the planet. The science is telling us this is true. Our hearts are telling us that this is true. So it's time to ask, what would love do? And let love answer. Claudia said this in our opening pulse. Time to embody love ourselves. Not just the thoughts of love or the hopes of love, but the kind of love that remembers our connectedness, our natural state of harmony with all of life. Because when a system is out of equilibrium, life strives for rebalance, back to wholeness, back to harmony. And when we align with life and we're contributing to that energy that is helping us return to a state of wholeness. And so right now, in this place, whatever you're experiencing, let's just place our attention on our hearts. And practice heart-centered breathing. Feel grateful for this life and for this opportunity that we uniquely have to be a positive contribution to this moment of crisis and great opportunity. Grateful for being here together. Because as much as we see incoherence all around us, here in spaces like this, we are feeling the power of our individual and collective coherence ride through what we're facing. So the question is, as Claudia asked us in the first session, how much love will it take to move our world from a state of emergency to one of emergence? How much love will it take to realign humanity with nature's innate coherence? That's the question we're here to answer together. That's the question we're here to embody together. And we need to start right where we're at, in the middle of the crisis and the boundary condition of this vast potential, like a thin line between crisis and miracle. That's where we're standing. And our practice is so simple. Heart-centered focus. Right now, hands on our hearts. Heart-centered breathing. And heart-centered feeling. Those three things consciously engaged activate the innate technology that we are, that has us in a natural state of coherence and in harmony with the whole of life. And throughout this session today, let's maintain this practice. And let's do it as we're feeling and facing everything that is true right now in our lives. I'm going to stop my screen sharing and just bring my face in for a moment and just say how grateful I am to be here in this place with all of you, because in the 20 years that I've been on this path. Really tender today. I've experienced the power of collective resonance when we're together like this, connected in the heart. And in this month-long pulses, and in the pulses that we've been doing from the beginning of April, as COVID arose, and this arose at the same time, is what I've been experiencing is the power of our collective coherence. And I would say for me, evacuating the other day and all the things that we're facing, just placing my heart-centered attention, my heart-centered breathing, and my gratitude really made a huge difference. My cats were completely relaxed. Everyone around me in the area, we all moved through it with more grace and ease. And as I moved out into the world and I started to see other people moving through the process, not the same if we're feeling afraid and fearful. So I want to dedicate this session today to all of the people around the world who are being displaced. It's not just the fires in California. It is happening all around the world. People are facing different challenges. And I want to send love to all of the people who are risking their life for our freedom and our safety. So let's really go deep today. Let's really do this work today. And so before I introduce our panels, I want to go to Entheo. We always like to start with music, and it's part of why I'm so tender is because they were playing a little set right before we started, and every time they play, it always makes me choked up. So they started me off just like this. So I'm going to go to you guys first. Thanks a lot for that, as always.
I'm so grateful.
And they're going to just keep carrying us on this current with their music and their love. Yeah. So this is Entheo, deep, beloved friends of mine, family. Yeah, take it away. And I'm going to stop my music. I don't need that.
Calling on the medicine of the forest, living in the only moment there is, flowing like an ocean, green and golden, like a lotus from the mud. She gives everything everyone needs to be free. Yes, she gives everything everyone needs to be free. So we can be all we can be, all we can be, all we can be. So we can be all we can be, all we can be, all we can be. Oh, breathe in the sunshine. Oh, fill up with the one life. Bring on the impossible, living through the struggle, to find it's ever more beautiful. Ever more beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. Ever more beautiful. We show up to this call with our everything holding us all. Feeling everything inside. Thank you, T, for opening up the space and bringing your heart so present. Your vulnerability is so beautiful. I just had to like hold back my tears because crying and singing isn't the most easy thing. But I just want to thank everyone who's melting into this moment together.
Keep melting into the flow, 'cause the flow is what we know and where we all wanna go, to the flow. Why? Because I find the flow is ever-present, never-ending, living intelligence. We are the evidence. Yes, I find the flow is ever-present, never-ending, living intelligence. We are the evidence. And the flow wants to feed us, wants to heal us, wants us to be free. And the feeling, the flow wants to feed us, wants to heal us, wants us to be free. Oh, breathe in the sunshine. Oh, fill up with the one life. Bring on the impossible, living through the struggle to find it's ever more beautiful. Oh, ever more beautiful. Oh, yeah, ever more beautiful. Sing it with us if you got it. Yeah, it's ever more beautiful. Yeah, ever more beautiful.
Thank you guys so much. Yes, from Portland, Oregon. We're going to be hearing from several times today. We'll learn a little bit more about them as they go, and I'll put links in the chat so you guys, you can see some people have not heard of you before, and now they're big fans already. Yeah, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and go to gallery view, and I hope that's what we're seeing. So then I can introduce you to our panel of guests today. Kimberly Carter Gamble is, I'm actually in her home. I got to evacuate to a beautiful place. I'm so grateful. And Shiloh Boss, who's also with us, calling in from Southern California, also dealing with fires and a number of things down there. And Niema Lightseed, who's calling from up in Portland as well. So these three women I invited today to have a conversation about some core themes, and I invited them all for different reasons, and including bringing Amma in and Entheo with their words. And the themes that we're going to be looking at today are listening, resistance, purpose, and choice. And I think exploring them from their different perspectives are going to be really an important way for us to really get at how do we cultivate sustained coherence in the face of what we're facing, right? There's pieces to each of those things that help us to kind of find our way there. And I'm going to start with inviting Kimberly, who is my best girlfriend on the planet. Yeah. And gosh, I'm really choked up today. Yeah. Boy, she is the producer, director, and co-writer of the Thrive, What on Earth Will It Take? And the Thrive 2 film that is just coming out, This Is What It Takes, Thrive 2, This Is What It Takes. And she is the founder and CEO of Clear Compass Media. And she is somebody that, for me, has rode that edge of what's actually going down and how do we stand in the face of it and what is it that we need to know and who is it that we need to be in order to navigate those changes. So Kimberly, I'm going to start with you and just open up the space for you to share your heart, obviously, and anything that you might want to say about listening and resistance.
Well, I just want to say thank you so much. You really created quite a heart space here. And I love you so much. I'm grateful to have you here. I have never known anyone who more naturally goes straight to the truth of what is and then navigates from there, no matter what it is. We have been all over the world through so many adventures together. And I know I always trust you for that. So I love you and I appreciate that. And the truth of what is, I really just so appreciate how you framed this. And I think the notion when you were talking about what are some themes that actually relate to practices that we can embody in order to navigate from where we are to this greater coherent world that we all know is possible. And so the notion of listening, as we were talking about it and I was reflecting, I was thinking about there's really kind of there's listening to myself, right? Which is kind of a funny thing, like who's listening to whom? Like listening to myself. Okay, so I'm listening to me. Is that my brain listening to my heart? Is that my soul listening to my earth being? Is it like, who is that, right? And then there's me listening to a greater source, whether that's God or spirit or whatever, however you want to experience it. There's something, I'd say that's what we think of as intuition, is that listening. And then there's listening to each other, right? So there's all these kinds of listening. And I was thinking, well, what's in common? Like, what's the practice of listening? And it all has to do with stillness. It has to do with stillness and who's who is this, right? Who are we talking about when we talk about I'm listening? And that whole conversation, Therese, that we've had so many times about our sense of self. And I think a huge amount of what we're doing now in all of this is expanding our sense of self, because the only way out of the fear is to redefine who we are in this and what we're capable of from this state. And the main thing that I have found in all of this is that it comes to stillness. And this is where one of the things I love about what you're doing has to do with bringing science and spirit together, because for years now I've studied sort of the unified field. We say Thrive 2 starring the unified field. It's the hero of our movie. We really explore it and all its many ramifications in technology and insights and everything else. And stillness isn't really still. Greg and Nassim and you and others have talked about this. Stillness is this constant moving in and out of balance. And it's so instantaneous and so fast that it looks still, but it's actually rebalancing. And I love that because it reminds me that it's never too late to come into balance. It's, as we, of course, sometimes we're off from this state in relation to ourselves. Like, what if I didn't listen to myself, right? Like, oh, I wish I exercised more, or ate better or something. It's like, well, who wants that and who's not doing it? That's the question, right? And can I be gentle with that conversation? And then what about if I didn't heed my intuition and something, it's like, okay, then we come back into that. Like, it's never too late to come back into balance. And I really think right now the hottest part of listening has to do with listening to each other. It is really a challenge to listen to people with whom we disagree. And again, I extend that, like, so who am I? Like, who's the me who's getting so mad, like listening to this other point of view? It all comes back to expanding this sense of self enough to be able to listen, truly listen, without resistance. And for me, I believe I'm really a big practical believer in practices, like defining this stuff. Like, what is it? So what is it that has me react? Whether it's against myself, against somebody else, against what's happening, like, what is that? And I believe that in terms of our relating with each other, that there's a threat, there's a threat that we can feel from each other's different worldviews. And those can be very real threats, right? Some of us believe that some of the stuff that's going down can kill us, right? So that's a normal human place to respond in a fearful way. So how do we move beyond that into something that is includes the information, includes the threat, and then moves beyond it to how we can deal with it without resistance? And I'm just going to say how listening led to resistance. And since we're being so real here as we go deeper, I'm just going to say that my biggest lesson in resistance, which is not what I would have scripted, but which is true, was about 53 years ago in the 60s. I went to a party, I wasn't supposed to go, and I probably snuck out or something. And I went to this party, and someone had spiked the punch with LSD. So unbeknownst to me, the first thing I moved my arm, and I saw like 50,000 arms go by. And so the first thing that happened was I went, oh my God, like this is so bad. Like somebody shouldn't have done that, right? It's unethical. It's wrong. I had the SATs the next day. I was just like, whoa, I don't want this. And my whole body just would it sounded like screeches on a blackboard, and the music out of tune and stuff. And then as soon as I said, well, it's happening. This is happening. Like, that's all there is. This moment, like you were singing, it's happening. And I could watch my body just flow and be like complete, I could yawn and take in the whole cosmos. And then I would come back to this resistant thought. And for a few hours, I had this training, a visceral training in what accepting what is without condoning it. I didn't think that was a good thing to do. I would never do that with somebody not having informed consent, but it happened, right? And so I had to get with what is in order to feel the peace from which to respond. And as long ago as that is, I have thought of it probably many times a year. For every 53 of those years since then, I've thought about it because it really helped me to know that resistance is where pain lives, no matter what. It doesn't mean that I condone the thing I'm not resisting. It just means that I accept that this is what is, and how do we go from here? And it's really helped. It's really helped me, because I believe that in order to move beyond where we are, we need to understand it. That information is key. It's not that resisting information is just like resisting anything. It doesn't help us. If we can include it, oh, this is what's happening. Let me understand it. And now let me breathe deeper and get bigger into a more expanded sense of self, and listen and come back to center, come back to center. So that whole thing about it's never too late to come back to center with ourselves or with each other. And we all lose it and come back. It's the story of human existence, So I have had this confirmed in the last few years as we've documented these various technologies that are all built on resistanceless capacity, with the ability to tune into the field, whether it's for electricity, for healing, or for expanding our consciousness. So I'm very grateful for these experiences in my life. And Teresa, for my friendship with you, which has just always held me to this place. I think we've navigated this together, and as one of us would move out, the other would come back, and we've been able to help each other with it. So I'm delighted to be here and with this group and this conversation. I think it's just time to get really real and really bold.
Yeah, really real and really bold. I love that you shared that analogy because we've helped each other through that so many times, right? Where just like it doesn't need to be like this, right? And then the acceptance of what is and actually riding through it has always brought us to somewhere other than that, right? Always opened up something more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I love you so much.
I love you too.
I'm going to go next to Shiloh, boss. Shiloh and I have we're kind of like two peas in a pod in some ways from a very deep kind of core perspective. We've been following the same kind of patterns and orators and worldviews and people and from a whole systems perspective. I've really appreciated that about Shiloh, and it's like we see the new form and we feel the new form in our very being, and we've been committed to it no matter what. And I really appreciate that about you, Shiloh, and our friendship over the years. And you're somebody where I knew that we could like track those things together and make sense of them together, even when there was no sense to be made. But we could feel it, and I just love you so much, and I'm really glad you're here and want to hear what you might have to say about listening and resistance.
Yeah, thank you. Can you all hear me okay?
You could
Great.
speak just a little louder, just, yeah, perfect.
Just a little louder. Okay. Listening and resistance. Thank you, Kimberly. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you, Entheo. Thank you, Field. Right? I want to invoke the idea that all of this science, really this art and science that we are exploring together in the global coherence field is really about field phenomenon. And imagine this. When I think of listening, I love to realize that I'm an instrument. And when we're thinking about the field phenomenon, I think of like a symphony. I think of how anytime if I were playing a flute or a cornet or even the drums, we have to tune the instrument. And that's what we're doing in this practice, these practices. We're tuning the instrument, right? And the amazing thing about listening to me is that I found over my practice that listening is actually a sending and a receiving. There is a dynamic from a living systems perspective. I, as a listener, am also sending out signals by the very nature in which I am listening. So if we were to imagine that we were antenna, both an antenna is a receptor site and a transmitter. And so just planting that seed, for me, when I think of listening, I'm always in a dance, a calibration. And that's very, very much what Kimberly was just talking about, right? This stillness that is always balancing itself. It's oscillating itself. It's tracking. Who is listening? What am I hearing? Who is showing up? Where is that coming from? Right? And so there's a dance here at play. And this is the essence of what we're really, really invoking all of us to be and do together in this art and science of global coherence. And check this out with the instrument. Like, okay, let's just play with a clarinet, right? The reed. We actually have to get just the right amount of tension. for the coherence to come through. Playing a drum, the skin's got to be just right for the resounding to boom in its greatest potential. So if we as instruments, if we as a collective, if we as individuals are here to really do the thing that we are inherently here to be and do by the nature of existence, by the nature of life, knowing that every seed, every place, a living system's perspective, that all parts are there, and that the most coherent field is actually going to have this tensegrity, a Buckminster Fuller film word, that tension. I propose that we actually cultivate a love affair. Cultivate a love affair with tension. When I'm building out cultures and developing leaders and businesses, there's always an inherent dance. There's always an inherent tension at play. And some of these things we can never answer. We can never land in one place. It's actually about finding the sweet spot and being in the dance of it all. Even the things that we have to face happening in the world will require our resistance, will require our edge, our pushback, our no, perhaps even, our strong stance, and our give, our embrace, our acceptance, our surrender. That resistance, that tension, the more that we can be kind of like in a juicy, playful, natural yet toned space of our instrument, ready to let the air come through, ready to beat it out with the rhythm, find that groove, right? Yet also holding the edge, embracing the tension. I feel like this is kind of the wisdom in the potential chaos. And so it has the potential to be fun. You know, I love, Teresa, your story about the move, the shift out of the home, right? And your beloveds, your team, your homemates, you chose to be in gratitude. You chose to embrace it. You chose to just kind of play through it. And this is an example of what is ours, what's our choice, what's ours to be and do. And so we are instruments. We get to embrace the resistance that is inherent in all of life. Every growth stage is naturally going to have something that we need to push against, naturally have something we have to get footing off of. And the nature in which we can embrace that, the nature in which we calibrate our instrument, is the nature in which the sound has. So that science that we're talking about, that sweet edge, right at the edge of chaos, is also that edge of potentiated shift. And so for us to love that edge, to show up with our instruments fully ready to harness the energy and conduct the outcome. That's really what it feels like it might be about for me, and I hope that helps. I do think we're on the brink of making a symphony at some sort of edge, right? And the more that we can calibrate and capacitate our instrument and our listening and embrace that resistance, I think that will make the melody or whatever it is that's coming, the symphony that's coming.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Shiloh. I feel that too. Like as I tune in and listen, what I find is that I have a unique note. And if I can soften and relax and really tune into that note, then I can start to see where I fit in the song, right? And come into resonance with the symphony that's unfolding, that's so much greater than I am, but needs my part. And I could feel that as you were describing it in the tensegrity is that bit of tension right before the resolve, as Marcia would describe it, right? It's like right before we come into resonance and coherence, there's this tension and riding through it and choosing to resonate the song or the tone, the note that we are is what gets us there. Yeah, beautiful. And I know Naima, I could see her smiling the moment that you said tensegrity because we talked a little bit last night and she was like so excited that that term had come up. And Naima, I'm really excited that you're here to join us. And Naima is a poet and a priestess of the new paradigm, and she's really dedicating her life to inviting people into personal and collective transformation. And she does it in all different ways. And Naima, I know that this is a moment where you're choosing to let the powerful voice that you are be heard. And so I'm really excited to give you this opportunity for more and more people to experience your quality of love and like calling it to the mat. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Teresa. I greatly appreciate this invitation, and I've already been moved so much by you and Kimberly and Shiloh and Amma and Theo. Love you too so much. I, yes, as you named when Shiloh was speaking to tensegrity, I love that. We didn't talk ahead of time about what we were both going to share, but when the four topics were named and resistance was one of them, I was like, oh, I have to bring in and invoke, one of our lineage holders, Buckminster Fuller, with the tensegrity model, because one of my many arts is body work. And when we learn about the human body, we learn about the tensegrity model, which is tension and integrity, because we're not stacked the way we might stack bricks. We're actually a series of spirals and lines of pull, of tension. And I can lift my arm right now because my left hip is pressing into the ground. And it's that tension between those two parts of the body that allow movement, allow dynamism, and allow us to exist in three-dimensional reality. And so when I think of, I'm going to flip mine a little bit. I'm going to talk about resistance first and then listening. When I think about resistance, I think about the power of dynamic tension. And we are, and especially in the more, we could say alternative, or those of us who have been seeking a way of being that is perhaps healthier than the mainstream, we can sometimes pendulum swing to, we don't ever want resistance, and we don't want to be in our fight, we don't want to be in our fear, and can actually cut off some parts of ourselves that disempowers us. And so with resistance, the invitation is towards understanding that really life holds all of it. Everything that we experience, challenge, fear, joy, excitement, despair, like all of that is intended for us to experience as part of the human school, as part of the human journey. And within that discomfort, can we let that rub us towards polishing? Just like the sand inside of the oyster that becomes the pearl through that discomfort. The invitation with this kind of resistance is to feel what is the opposite of what I think. It's this like as I named, what allows my arm to lift is my hip rooting, and it's the pull between the two. So when we notice there is something out of alignment inside of ourselves or inside of our world, and we're getting that like I think we could use the word incoherent, or like there's something that's like stuck. I have the image as I'm saying this of the Ouroboros, the serpent that eats her own tail from several different mythologies, and sometimes that circle, that pattern, we want it to repeat, but sometimes we need to interrupt that pattern. And Shiloh named that as the the potential. We can go one way or the other. And in that interruption, the circle becomes a spiral and an evolution is possible. And that interruption can seem really uncomfortable because our brains, our egos, are designed to protect the status quo and have us continue as we have been for safety, because we're designed to survive before thrive. And so there needs to be enough, another way of thinking of resistance, of like internal energy to interrupt what has been, if it's no longer serving the entire ecosystem, spiral us into a new way of being. And it is sometimes that resistance that both lets us know that something needs to change and gives us the impetus to be able to create that change. And so in this model, as we, ground it into this moment, where we're looking at so many things out of balance internally and in the world, and really, especially in this country, a horrible potential for falling into a fascist dictatorship. And that, yes, we need to be inside of our body based, and I believe like the heart as a doorway towards an entire somatic body centered way of rearranging ourselves with the world, and that gets to inspire us, support us, motivate us towards creating enough tension, or more than creating, noticing the tension that is in the field, giving enough of our resistance. There's a reason that movements that are attempting to overthrow systems of oppression are called resistance. And it's not just we don't like what's happening, but it's that the gesture of what's happening is out of alignment with life. And we can feel that. And so we are giving voice to the resistance in the system, in the field, that says, no, a healthier, more connected way is possible. And then that can disrupt the pattern that is no longer serving and turn us into a spiral. And just a little bit of, I love our coherence symbol. If you look at it 2D, it looks like it's just kind of like an up and down thing, but actually those patterns are spirals. We would need like a 3D animation to be able to see them, but they're like more happening like this. It's better more in front of the screen, more like this. So just a little spiral is my favorite shape, so I love to wax poetic about them a little bit. But then into the listening. So I think part of this resistance of what has been is that we're shifting from capitalist, patriarchal, hierarchical ways of being based on fear and colonialism, and the idea that there's not enough and that I have to take in order to thrive, that I have to be better than someone else in order to thrive. That's what racism is. It's the ego-based, illusory idea that my identity is dependent on being better than someone else. This was what enabled slavery to be at all, and what has allowed us to continue to this day. And so as we shift out of this, we get to collectively listen to the field to co-create something none of us in any of our recent memory, hundreds of years, have known. And for this, I'm really appreciating the work of emergent strategy as codified by Adrienne Maree Brown. There's a whole movement around it where they talk about as we're losing apex predators right now, and the creatures that are kind of at the top of the food chain with climate collapse, we're watching that creatures that are cooperative, like dandelion, like mycelium, like cockroaches even, are doing well because they are adaptive and regenerative, and or at least know how to regenerate, and they work together and communicate, and their way of being adapts and is this emergence. And so as we're tuning into our own coherence, how do we also listen to each other, knowing that there's no one right way. None of us has the answer as an individual, but if we listen deeply enough to each other in the field, together we can emerge, resist where is needed, and help shift us towards a more cooperative way of being.
Hmm. Beautifully said. Thank you so much, Niema. Beautifully said. Yeah, everybody's feeling it so deeply. I really appreciate that. I think that there is this new something that's coming, and it's beyond our comprehension to define with our current thinking mind. So we have to listen more deeply, and we have to attune to our natural state of harmony so that we can move with the change that's occurring. Yeah, Amma, I want to just open up the space for you, and also for you guys to bring us into some music for our meditation. But I want to hear if you want to add anything to that. One thing I'll just say about the Heartists that I've invited to come onto these sessions, I've invited them not just because their music reflects coherence and helps us to get there, but they're also the rising thought leaders on the planet, and they don't often get a chance to have their voices heard just in what they have to say beyond their music. And so I'm always wanting to encourage that.
That's awesome. Thanks, T. Oh, so much goodness in all of what you're saying. I just felt myself just pulling together and connecting so many threads through what you're saying. And I'm imagining that people who are watching this are able to do the same, getting all these pieces coming together, because I feel that with growing tension in our world, like we see so much polarization and so much tension. It's a need to, grow my capacity to work with tension in my own system. It's like necessity is the mother of all invention. Like, okay, this is an evolutionary container for us to learn how to work with that tensegrity. And there's so many, it's so easy to talk about it, and I love the picture of it, but what happens in my life when I am met with resistance, when I can't confront, when the culture is trying to interrupt something that I've been unconscious to, or when my partner is totally on the other side of the map than where I'm at with a set of beliefs around how we want to parent, choices in community, safety and health measures with COVID. Like, we're all having to navigate these consent fields and agreement fields, which is such an interesting and cool aspect to the coronavirus situation. Having to get clear and communicate through these things. And so I love this, I see that my system is a micro of the macrocosmic system. So when we talk about like 5G towers and conflicting political views that are just like in deep conflict and differing ideologies and perspectives, I always inquire, where is my 5G tower? Like, where's my regime of control or hierarchical, dictator slash opposing views? Because what I've learned in getting curious about those parts of me that Kimberly was speaking to, that like, who is it that's listening, or who is it that's reacting so strongly over here? The more rigid and identified I am, the more I go, oh, there is something afraid, that my nervous system is freaking out right now. That's the threat. And something I've learned from Niema is like interrupting that threat going unconscious, and basically like, instead of outsourcing my need for safety through the rigidity of my ideology and holding on to my perspective, if I can regulate my body, which is why this work of breath and body practices of breathing and slowing in that stillness, if I can regulate through my body, then my perspective doesn't have to hold so tight and reject and deflect, and actually not be able to see clearly what's happening over there. Because yeah, what's happening over here that I don't like is a gross caricature of some thing turned its volume up way high, and it's, yeah, I don't want to be that. That's not something I want to be. But if I can slow everything down and look through the layers, I actually realize there's something essential. There's a value to life that is essential. It's part of the coordinated whole of reality. That vector equilibrium has 12 points. That 64 tetrahedron has 64 differing points and perspectives. How are we living in a coordinated whole where all of these points can be held in synthesis? And that to me is where emergence is. And I have more to say about that, but I can talk about it later. But I just love, Shiloh, the love affair with tension. Because and then Niema, the body perspective of the dynamic tension, because that brings the love affair really close to home. Then I get to be really intimate with all the different ways that I get to hold that tension. And the last thing I'll say is just those moments of interruption. Can we get curious about when we have the resistance come up? And I'll give just an example. In my community, we have a range of perspectives around COVID that go from all the way to the far extreme of the most safety precautions, masks outside, up to one degree. And then we have people in the community that are holding perspectives of hey, where are you getting your sources of information? And what is this all about? And how do we know who to trust and what to believe in the numbers and all that? So to me, when I listen deeper, instead of getting caught in the conflict, and I listen deeper, I hear a need for personal autonomy. And I hear a need for social responsibility. So how do we be socially responsible to each other and simultaneously have personal autonomy and freedom to choose what is best for us? Those kinds of conundrums and dilemmas is what to me is the rubber hitting the road of what it means to walk through tensions and allow it to be an emergent process rather than something that keeps us back in that old pattern of this. So going towards the this, and now we're going to play music.
Beautifully said, Amma.
Thanks. I'm going to turn my reverb on. So, it's that one. Okay. Okay.
So we're in this dance between exploring thought, exploring feelings, exploring everything this dimension has to offer, and then we come back to our practice of noticing and dropping back to be that essential aspect of the self and of the universe, which is the one noticing it all, the one watching it all happen, that's not attached to any of it. It's been doing this for millennia, for God knows how long, timeless eons, and here we are. So this song is all about, it's just an invitation to drop back into that part of our being that is watching the show. I am not the clouds, I am the sky. I am not the mind, I am the eye. Hearing a sacred song of a universe alive. Can't hold on to anything passing away. I am here experiencing living today. High highs, lows, me in the middle, watching it go. Here comes a fear, oh no, watch it go. Feelings and thoughts, I watch them go. See it all and watch it go. Oh, 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 oh. I am not the memories, I am the one circling for centuries around the sun, burning up everything, all that needs to be released, expanding beyond the edges of my mind. Stories and seasons, reasons and rhymes, open me up to find it's always been me in the middle, watching it go. Here comes a fear, oh no, watch it go. Feelings and thoughts, I watch them go. See it all and watch it go. Oh, 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 oh. And the secret is to see it, to feel it, receive it. Oh, the secret is to see it, to feel it, receive it. Oh, the secret is to see it, to feel it, receive it. Yeah, the secret is to see it, to feel it, receive it. And underneath this fear of mine is the sweetness of life. Oh, oh, underneath this pain inside is the sweetness of life. Oh, 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 oh. The sweetness of life. Oh, 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 oh. The sweetness of life. Oh, oh, oh. The sweetness of life. Oh, oh, oh. The sweetness of
Love you guys so much. So much. What a powerful set of sharings that was from everyone. Wow. I'm going to cancel the spotlight and see if we can go to here. Whoa, that was really beautiful, and so many different directions all converging into like one beautiful story to help us to navigate these times. And we're going to move right into Niema guiding us in our pulse meditation. We're going to do that now. So keep settling in deeper, and then we'll come back and we're going to explore a few more themes before we close out today. So Niema, I'm going to turn the spotlight over to you.
Oh, I always feel so tender hearing those two's music, and grateful for that. And the as Teresa named, the invitation towards many ways of coming to this understanding. So I will invite us into a practice now. And so for this, if you are in a place where you can comfortably sit upright, I invite that. You're also welcome to lie down if that is supportive for you. And I'm going to start a little bit of music for us, I would need permission for that.
That's strange. You can't do a screen share and then under advanced up at the top, it'll allow you to share your computer audio.
Yeah, it
See
worked
that?
earlier. There we go. Great.
All right.
Opportunity to trust. So, always beginning with the breath. If you feel comfortable to do so, you can bring your hands somewhere in contact with your body where you can feel your breath, perhaps your belly or your heart. And start simply by noticing what is real in your body in this moment. Not how you think you should feel or how you wish you felt. Not how you felt last week. Letting go of comparison, valuing any aspect of your experience as good or bad, right or wrong, and opening to curiosity, to wonder and observation. Noticing the breath without trying to change it yet, but as we know, whatever we pay attention to, whatever we pay attention to changes. And so simply by observing your breath will probably have begun to deepen. And also notice what is real in your physical body, the places in your body that feel open and connected, the places that feel sore or tired. Noticing what's real in your emotional body, the feelings that are present in your heart, but also in other parts of your body. Noticing what emotions are present where, what they might have to tell you about the reality of this moment. And again, see if you can be with the reality of your inner experience in this moment, in the fullness of your experience, allowing yourself to feel what is real without making up a story about it being good or bad. It's simply what is. Part of rediscovering coherence is actually locating ourselves in the truth of the moment. And part of that location, that relocating, is deep honesty. Honesty of the reality of this moment, of being in the present, not the past or the future, of feeling the feelings that are here. And then from here, we can co-create with life. Can't change the ocean that we ride upon, but we can steer the ship and navigate with the stars, co-liberate with Earth, collaborate. And our most direct interface with our nervous system is through our breath, allowing yourself to open to that rhythm of receiving and releasing that is breathing. The letting in and letting go that reconnects us with the natural rhythms of life. The cycle of the day and night, the waxing and waning of the moon, birth, growth, death, rebirth, the songs of the stars, all held in the microcosm of every breath. The more deeply we reattune to our own breath, the more deeply we tune ourselves into harmony with the universe. Full exhalation, long, smooth inhalation. Not through force, but through focus, inviting more and more of your body to participate in that deep rhythm. Allowing the belly to open, the pelvis to receive, the shoulders and torso and jaw to soften. While still holding yourself gently upright, reaching down through the hips or the feet into the earth, extending up through the crown of the head towards the sky. How much can you soften around that central pillar? How much can you find the balance of uprightness and ease, mindful effort and surrender? Always playing with paradox in our quest towards becoming more human. Finding that breath that is slow, smooth, deep, and even. And envisioning an energetic anchor that you drop from your heart through your pelvis, through whatever you're sitting upon, through the structures beneath you, all the way towards the core of the earth. Connecting with that moving, dynamic, molten mineral. Connecting with the rock and soil beneath us, and allowing that earth energy to rise up through your taproot, to support you, to ground you, allow you to be connected to the planet. And as you inhale, this earth energy rises up through this root and bubbles up at the level of your heart like a fountain. As you inhale, the energy rises. As you exhale, bubbles over in the heart like a fountain. At the same time, imagine a tether that rises from your heart through your crown to connect with the sun, moon, and stars, the grand central sun, your personal sun, or another celestial body. Connecting with that sky energy, that universe energy. And as you inhale, you're drawing the energy of the sun, moon, and stars through your crown and the energy of the earth through your root, and they meet at your heart. In that infinitesimal pause between the inhalation and the exhalation, the earth energy, sky energy, and your own inherent heart energy generated by the singularity in your chest merge. And then as you exhale, this merged alchemical soup, this life energy pulses out, first to fill your own body, nourishing the hungry places, watering the dry places, tending the sore and tired places, strengthening the weak places. As you inhale this earth and sky energy, meeting the energy of the heart, they fuse in that space between inhalation and exhalation that pulses out during the exhalation, first to fill your body. And depending on what is true for you today, that might be as far as this goes might simply be refilling yourself with the energy of life and your own inherent energy. If there is overflow on that exhalation, if there is enough to fill you and then more, that pulses out first to your own energy field, repairing any holes in your energy body, strengthening your semi-permeable membrane that allows you to interface with the other energy of life. And then once that feels strong and fluid and supple and protective in the ways that you need, if there is more overflow, that pulses out to connect with the energy of the other people on this call in this moment, or those later tuning into the recording, to connect with the people in your home and your neighborhood and your city, your continent, this whole planet. And because the energy is a combination of infinite source and your own personal quantum energy, it is limitless. You're not drawing from your body's supply that needs to be regenerated, that does have a limit. You're drawing from the limitless energy of life to restore and refill yourself first, and then if there is overflow, to pulse out into the world. If your mind wanders, simply return to the fullness of the deep breath. And tuning it in again to the inhalation, drawing energy from the earth and sky, inviting energy from the earth and sky, mixing with your own heart energy, and then exhaling out. And with this personal free energy device turned on, with this practice towards coherence in place, feeling the potency and aliveness of your own heart center and your own body and your own field. You are more capable of being in your sovereignty. You're not needing to draw energy in the form of validation or agreement with another human. And you're also less likely to have your personal energy taken from you because you're pulsing out this universal energy. You can be fed by source and your own inherent power. And you can be in relationships of sovereignty, consent, and connection by choice with all the people you encounter, even if there is resistance. When we're in this place of centeredness and life connection, we can meet with integrity, even in the face of tension. We can meet with honesty, even in the face of deception. We can meet the moment with love, even in the face of fear. Not because we're bypassing or ignoring or hiding, but because we are full of the life energy that we don't force, but we do offer to support the field around us. And we are honest with ourselves about what we are feeling. And with that deep honesty, the joy and the anguish, the sorrow and the despair, the gratitude and the exultation and the celebration, the righteous anger, the grief, the harmony, the musicality are all welcome, are all held as parts of the natural experience of life, given the places where they can actually be helpful and don't interrupt our capacity to connect and be real, but rather support it. With this intact conduit, drawing earth and sky energy, mixing with your own heart energy, allowing that to fill you on the exhalations and then pulse out if there's overflow. We also strengthen the semi-permeable membrane right at the edge of our energy bodies as our energetic interface with the world. You can envision that as a viscous pearly white or any color, might be rainbow, bubble right around you, like a invisible eggshell around you. And when discordant, harmful energy comes towards you, when this is in place, rather than coming into your body, it comes close enough that you may be aware of it and receive the information if you need from it. But rather than it being like an attack, it just goes right around this field and travels through those channels that you are running to the earth and sky, to the sun or to the earth, where it is composted and that energy is returned to the great mystery. And if someone is trying to pull something from you, trying to draw on your personal energy, instead of coming from your body and depleting you, it comes from those channels, from the earth or the sun, and that person or that structure receives the energy that they need, but it's not coming from your body. And you're still able to reach through to connect. You're still able to receive love when you choose, but we get to be at choice when we're in our sovereignty, when we're connected to the limitless life energy that is limitless, not because there is necessarily unlimited energy, but because there is no waste in nature and everything is recycled. And so we are within the spiraling pattern of life when we connect with this, receiving what we need from this pattern of life, from the gravity of life. And from this, we pulse out, offering the life energy where it is needed and received, and are more in harmony with ourselves, with all of life. You can let that visualization go. And just return your attention to your body, to the simple breath, this rhythm of receiving and releasing, of being here in this magic now. Thank you.
Let's stay in this state as we bring on Entheo just to keep carrying us into pulsing the fields. Pulsing. Beautiful. Yeah, here we go. Take us away, guys. Keep us in the flow as you beautifully always do.
Well, I can't go on hiding my light just because I'm afraid I'll shine too bright. Well, this contradiction, this tension lives in me. So I'm on a mission to be set free. Even if my heart breaks, it's time for my soul to wake. Even if my heart breaks, it's time for my soul to wake. Even if my heart breaks, it's time for my soul to wake. Even if my heart breaks, it's time for my soul to wake. So keep bringing it, keep bringing it through, keep living it, keep living your truth, keep bringing it, keep bringing it through, keep loving it, put the love in everything you do. Yeah, na 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 na. Whoa, oh, oh, na 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 na. Yeah, na na na. Oh, oh, oh. It's a beautiful day to come alive inside the dream, with our heart in the sky. This revelation, it's you and I, infinite constellations unified. Hearts are breaking open, soul is awaking up. Hearts are breaking open, soul is awaking up. Hearts are breaking open, soul is awaking up. Hearts are breaking open, and we'll keep bringing it, keep bringing it through, keep living it, keep living your truth, keep bringing it, keep bringing it through, keep loving it, put the love in everything you do. Whoa. Na 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 na. Whoa, whoa, oh, na 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 na. Yeah, na na na. Whoa, whoa, oh.
I think we should probably go into the last part. We're gonna do some freestyle, but I think that it's time to move on.
That was a good verse. Good
That was
freestyle
really good.
verse.
Thanks,
Great
thanks
freestyle
everybody.
verse, yeah.
That's great.
Even if my heart breaks, it's time for my soul to wake. Even if my heart breaks, It's time for my soul to wake, even if my heart breaks. It's time for my soul to wake, even if my heart breaks. It's time for my soul to wake.
Yeah, so beautiful. Thank you guys. Wow. Niema, beautiful meditation. Thank you so much for taking us into that space. That's definitely the way that a tree taught me once about the Taurus that we are. And I know all of the work that Kimberly and Foster have been doing with Thrive to make that visible, right? That is the energy of our coherent state, and you guided us beautifully in the music always helps. There might be some time for you guys to do a little bit more at the end there. We go to 12:15, so we have some time here to move through our next two themes, which are purpose and choice. So, Shiloh, I think I'm going to go to you first, my dear, just to touch on. I know purpose is definitely one of your main themes that you love to share about, and so I wanted to open up the space for you to do that.
So yummy. Thank you so much, everyone. Niema, I love how you brought in paradox. And I love how you guided us into circulating and tapping into the inherent energies, and then choosing if we wanted to keep taking that nourishment in or offering it out to the whole. That choice and that paradox feels so key. So key. And if we're going to keep building on the art and science that is offered in this field of all the different partnerships here at the Global Coherence and Islands of Coherence, and all of the different parties and players that are aligning, resonating, and contributing into this field of thought, this way of being together, I think calling out the paradox is a really, really key component when we talk about purpose. Let's face it, guys. Our very existence, we were made out of the joining of opposites. We wouldn't even be here if it weren't for the joining of opposites. So again, in harnessing a love affair for the dynamic tension, really, really appreciating the polarities that is ours to harness. And in terms of purpose, for me, I think I've been very, very blessed in my existence to have come in with a very clear sense of purpose. I myself am a conscious conception, so I feel like I get to carry a code of a gistry, a point of focus, a point of purpose, a reason for being. And I'm here to say, in life, all parts play a critical piece of the whole. Someone on the thread said something about we're all VIP piece, very important pieces of the puzzle. And that is absolutely true. And as we discover ourselves, as we move through life, there might be different moments, different phases where we feel really, really clear, where we feel really, really connected with who we are, what our purpose is, what we're up to. And then there might be other moments where it's confusing. We feel lost. There's resistance in the field. It's not landing. It's not happening. And what's being offered here is how can we harness that energy, right? How can we harness that energy? And if the purpose of life is to move through life, and we know that the great sages of the ages have invited us to know thyself and to keep discovering. And if any child, right, or any stage of life, we're continuing to discover what it is that we're here to be and do, and what does it look like as we show up. My invitation is for us to stay curious. My invitation is for us to actually embrace the paradox. Let it inform us even further, right? And of course, we do have a choice into how we attune. But the big piece that I want to name, right? If we're all very important pieces of the puzzle, and if this field of science that we're practicing is that we want to hone in and offer coherence to the field. And I'm playing on this metaphor of music and being an instrument. We know from quantum mechanics that there is both the emerging edge of the thing, there is the particle, and there is immense background energy of the field. And that we can always source from the field. And the field also has the potential of distracting us. So this space of the dance, this oscillation, this paradox, if you will, is really ultimately about temperance. We are tempering our field by the power of the paradox. In that temperance, we ourselves get to fortify the capacity of our being, fortify the potential of our instrument, right? And in that, we become a signal. So the invitation in all of this practice, my friends, is for us to be a signal in the noise. For us to be a signal in the noise. And how do we actually do that? We do that by all the things that we are talking about and being in the practice of and being in the musing of is certainly by knowing ourselves. And also honing and listening and tracking into the next level of discovery when we feel like we've lost it, so that we can come into the signal. And what I love is that even when I don't know and I'm not sending a clear signal, I can actually have my signal be even more in the listening, even more in the curiosity, even more in the tuning in to the unknown, even more tuning in to the field to inform me, so that then it comes in and the signal's back online. My friends, we have been in a paradigm that has, and a narrative that's, dare I say, tricked us, duped us, perhaps even spellbound us. And we in this field of practice are here to dismantle and rearrange some of that, right? This new science, the quantum mechanics, right? The field understanding of, and thankfully, it's a lot of the science that's delivering us into these formal discoveries that the spiritual and teachings have story told us over the ages. So we are in and of itself a time of this kind of merging. So to be a signal through the noise, to embrace the both and, right? We have these kind of big thematics that are going on in the world that are kind of enticing us into a divide and conquer, a divide and destroy. And it's our quest to unify, align, and move us through. Unify and birth something, right? That very nature of what we're created out of. So if we say yes, if we choose to do our part, if we commit to staying in the game, and then at certain moments, life will organize us anyways, right? So the invitation is for us to be a signal through the noise. And the simple, profound practice of the global coherence, the heart coherence practices, is a perfect, perfect solution. And that we also know throughout all the sharings that's happened throughout this month, and perhaps everyone's other tools that we have in our tool belt, that there are solutions that allow us to be in the both and, the both and, right? That spiral that Niema is inviting us into. And the more that we can hone in to the coherence, the more that that fortifies our signal, and the more power we have in our choice, the more coherence we have in our choice, the more clarity of the signal that we are. So it's okay to be in the unknowing. It's okay to be in the unknown. When we stay curious, when we stay honed, when we stay centered. And then it's okay to be bold. It's all of it so absolutely natural in this oscillation, right? This temperance that holds it all. And it's powerful to be born and to be awake and to be embodied on this time on the planet. And I propose that all of us knew what we were up to. We knew we were coming to some supersonic big show, turning of the epoch. So hone into that code, that sweet, profound, unique signal that is your very important piece of the puzzle. And also allow yourself to be informed by the rest of the puzzle, because it is bigger than us. And we are finding our place together. And all the pieces ideally do fit. That feels good right there.
Yeah, beautifully said. Every single heart is needed right now exactly as we are. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you, Shiloh. Niema, do you want to add a few words into the space, and then we'll hear from Amma and Kimberly?
Yeah, thank you. That was exquisite. And I will start right there with the listening to what's natural within us. I love that you named, and I've been feeling this too as I've been tuning into the previous week's offerings of, and Marshall named this as well, and I believe so did our first presenter, of the, so much of what has been codified by heart math and by this understanding of coherence have actually been indigenous teachings for thousands of years, because the science helps, the kind of colonized Western mind make sense of what's happening, so we can make graphs and charts and like help that part of the brain be like, okay, I can believe in this coherent stuff because I have a measurable. But the people who have been living close to the earth for this entire time know that, even if they don't use the word coherence to describe it. It's reciprocity, it's regeneration, it's being in relationship with earth, with our more than human kin, with each other. It's I don't want to call it an alternative to extraction consciousness. It was what was before extraction consciousness, this understanding of our interpenetration and our interconnectedness. And I name this because I feel part of purpose which has been an inquiry for me my entire life. I'm a Capricorn and have navigated a lot of systems of oppression that have made doing the things that I'm supposed to do to be successful inside of capitalism really challenging. And the gift of that has been, it's propelled me to find my own way to living my purpose, which is creating art in a variety of ways and inspiring others to create art as healing, as ways of changing the world through creativity. And the finding of that for me has been attuning to what is true in my body and following that. And it's scary sometimes because it's not a formula. I don't have measurables for it. It's a sense of this deep listening, as we named earlier, and that the this kind of indigenous original people's way of being in relationship with each other and with themselves. Like, I perceive many of them wouldn't have had the same kind of grappling with the idea of purpose that we do in our modern world, because they would have been so nurtured by their community that it would have been obvious that, oh, you love carving, so you're going to be the carver and we'll support you in that. It's kind of this way of being held by the community in one's purpose as a natural expression of one's being. And so how do we, in the face of structures that would tell us you're only worth what you produce, you have to consume in order to feel worthy, you have to be a part of the machine to make a very few people a very lot of money, when we're attempting to disrupt and transform that and shift our everything, our economy, our environment, our social justice relationships to be more equitable and harmonious, so much of that comes to what is 6-year-old me still remember about what I love? What is this, beyond all that's been imposed upon us, the natural innate intelligence of my spirit still, even if it's very, very quiet, still telling me, compelling me to be, do, create? How do I listen to that original intelligence and let that be what guides me and guides my choices? And if resistance comes up because the world doesn't match that, I'm so connected to this deep inner knowing and music that I sing that forth no matter what, even in the face of the challenge. And it might appear to others like resistance, when in actuality it's the power of my own coherence being so strong that it shatters the illusory glass around us. And that I have like 10 things I want to say, and I want to find my own breath to to crystallize and bring it home.
Great place to
I
land.
feel like the choice that we are making as a collective right now is whether or not we want to stay on this planet. And it really does feel as dire as that when we look at what's happening politically and environmentally. We are in collapse. We're losing species every day. We're losing our capacity to live here. The planet will be fine. The planet will endure, but I think she'll miss us as stewards and as art makers. And so when I tune into, why humans are here, why, if trees exist to hold the ground together and transform carbon dioxide into oxygen, and bees exist to pollinate, humans exist to steward with our thumbs and our complicated brains, and to reflect consciousness back to life itself by making art through our unique individual expressions. By creating, we help life see life itself. And if we can remember that as our collective purpose as humans, then the individual choices around our consumption and the things we've been doing that have been destructive have less gravity, because we're tuned into the wait, how do I honor this life I've been given? Grieve what has been before, turn compost into beauty and offer that forth, because that's what life wants from us. And my hope is my senses through making those choices that bring us closer to our personal true creativity, which could look like learning how to cultivate mycelium that can eat plastic, or could look like becoming a lawyer so we can change the criminal justice system. There are many ways that art comes through us, but if we're in alignment with our true purpose, listening to that original voice, and we are in this understanding of the human's purpose as creators, co-creators with life, then the choices that we make can be fueled by this deep, lush intelligence within and from life. And we hopefully can steer our collective ship away from the destructive path that we're on without some significant interruption towards actually this more, I perceive, as natural way of being in harmony with each other and with life.
Thank you, Niema. Beautiful. Thank you. Powerful sharings today. Amma, I'm going to go to you and then to Kimberly. Let's see, spotlight your video. Some thoughts you might want to share.
Yeah, I feel like I want to be brief because this is a subject that is what my whole life's work is around, is supporting and allowing purpose to emerge out of the tensegrity of our lives. And it's cool how purpose is innate. It's kind of like how the substructural geometric patterns of time space are innately there. Like our purpose is already designed in us. Similar to how I think it was, who's that physicist that talked about Frank? No, I'm stuttering here. Yes, Frank Wilczek. Atomic structures behave as perfected musical instruments, like Shiloh's been helping us to see, that it's innate that we as humans and psychic systems, we're designed to behave like perfect instruments, but how do we hold that temperance, like Shiloh was talking so much about? And this is where I feel like purpose is then emergent. Purpose, it's not like it's this constant emergence out of those tension points. And I think what feels most important to share in this moment for me is about collectively, our collective purpose to me is about evolution and how we are growing into greater capacity and to allow for more full, beautiful expression of life to come through, and to kind of like this whole technology we've incarnated into, to actually, that's why I think the sciences are so powerful, because they're helping us see the technological biosphere that we've inherited and how to actually hone and be the drivers of our own vehicle. So learning about how to harness our own free energy systems is so cool. And so in this, to me, I feel like part of our purpose is about upgrading our central operating system. And the way that I see it is that the previous stage of evolution and consciousness where we've been, the way that I am, my central operating system is like an old, like 80s television. Like, this is my image I get. It's an old 80s television that can only handle one channel at once. And so then all the parts that make me up are like toggling and fighting for that one channel to get that need met, to like fulfill that primal impulse of life. And there's all this dissonance in the system. And really the evolution is how could our operating system become, instead of an old 80s television, or maybe a 70s television,
Windows 95.
become like I see it as like a spherical double phi spiral of like the prismatic integration and synthesizing of all the different perspectives that inside of me hold a whole coordinated integrity of my inner reality, but then it's also my individual being having connection to all people outside of me, cultures, individual people in my community that I'm able to synthesize and allow for an emergence. So I guess the question I have is, how are the dynamics of your life experience right now, the interacting wave dynamics that are moving through your vibrational sphere? How are those dynamics guiding you towards operating at a greater coordinated integrity? And that to me is a vehicle of purpose. So.
Beautifully said. I love your embodiment of what you're saying, Alma. You've always had that kind of grace about you as you're speaking. We can feel you feeling what you're saying as you're saying it. And that's a true transmission and beautifully done.
Awesome, T. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to Kimberly next. And before she speaks, I just want to, I kind of fumbled her introduction a little bit because I was so just kind of tender. And I think it's really important to say that, the Thrive film, the second one, is coming out in a month. Just a little more than a month right now. Like we're just right there in the last bit of it, which is a huge accomplishment. Much like the first one, that's like the most popular, most seen documentary on the planet. And this one is going to be a game changer. And I'm going to put the link in the chat, and I want you all, I'm going to have Entheo play some music while you're getting all of the links out of the chat, but to go today and to sign up on Thrive On and to get the information about this and to watch the trailer, because it's an important game changer and it's a true gift on the planet right now that Kimberly and Foster and a whole team of people have been doing, and you don't want to miss it. So Kimberly, before you offer it up, I just wanted to make sure that people really got that there is an important gift coming. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, I appreciate that. And I appreciate your partnership through it all. I love this, and I really appreciate this conversation and each of us bringing our parts. And I think what I want to say is I've spent the last 2.5 years, actually more than that, but we've been making the movie for 2.5 years, traveling around, checking out the best solutions on the planet, from indigenous practices to the most modern imaginable technologies, and found, cures for cancer and free energy and amazing tools for expanding consciousness and all the rest. And when I've been listening and I'm hearing words like unify and sovereignty, and I think, okay, unity and sovereignty, like distinct. Sovereign is distinct and whole. Unity is whole together, right? And I think that the value of the science articulation of the unified field and of what you were talking about, Niema, with the indigenous knowing, is the torus, which is actually distinct and unified at the same time. It's a model for us. And so, Amma, when you were talking about in your community, there's just this whole range from, covered in plastic to prevent this spread of this, what some people believe is one thing, to others who feel like this is a tool for taking away our liberties and a fascist takeover, and then everything in between. And as I've had an opportunity to travel around, I don't derive my hope from us all coming to agreement. And I see the billions and trillions of dollars that have manifest our current reality. This is somebody's dream come true. And our job is to dream bigger, to unflinchingly dream bigger. And I believe that the practice of that and how we can actually learn to live together is with principles, not politics. And to me, the principle that the field teaches us and that the torus reflects is the non-aggression principle, which Gandhi and King and others have talked about. And it's based on the notion that we just don't get to violate anybody against their will. It's the one thing on the planet that everybody agrees to. And if our policies reflected that principle, that would be the way that we could actually have harmony and sovereignty in this range of things. So if somebody wants to get a vaccine, they get a vaccine. And if somebody doesn't, they don't. Right? And that how we live together. And this is where at the heart of it is accountability. And the heart of accountability becomes our knowing ourselves and our the requirement that we stand to it. And so I think that our life on the planet and our inner worlds can start to come in. I see the new world as when that's the balance that we achieve. And I believe that we achieve it through principles, not politics. And I believe that all of the things that we've been talking about today with understanding purpose and listening and resistance and our choices, I think that what you've been doing, Teresa, and this whole global coherence movement is to help us understand that we are in a field of infinite possibility. And actually being able to have this new dream manifest, breathe deeper, embody it. Like I see you so beautifully do, Amma, and as you're articulating, Niema, with you, all of you, you know, just really to breathe deeper, dream bigger, and be bold. That's what I see as the way to move from this coherence that we experience here and then carry it with us through our days, so that as we leave here and encounter something that's a challenge, we can stick with it because we can say, do as you do, I'll do as I do. We will be distinct and unified together. So I'm very grateful to be a part of this. I hope you do all go to thriveon.com. That's my bold, big dream that I've been directing and producing into existence for the last 2.5 years. And it's 35 days and it'll be out. So anyway, and I'm counting. Yeah. Thank you so much.
It's a huge birthing. It's really a huge birthing. And, you know, as we're coming to a close today, you know, let's send some good energy to Kimberly and the team at Thrive, because it is a big deal to launch a film of this magnitude that's really approaching the issues that it is, and having some grace and love flowing in that direction is really, really helpful in these last days. It's like birthing a baby, but it's something way bigger than that. So, love you so much, Kimberly.
Thank you so much, Teresa.
So much. And everybody, Niema, with your work in the world, I put some links for Niema in there. Definitely go to, I'm going to repost, somebody's asking for the repost of Thrive. I'm going to do that right now.
It's thriveon.com, thriveon.com. You can see everything there, yeah.
Easy to find. And Shiloh, just everything that you're navigating. And I know we have some fun work to do to bring some of these essential memes into the world in ways that can really be embraced by people. And Amma, will you put your own personal link in the chat so that those people that want to kind of follow along with some of what you have to offer? Amma's also an astrologist and a coach, and I tell you, spending time with her is really a powerful thing to do, to really help you, you know, find the current of your purpose. And Entheo music is there, so we have that. I'm just going to put a few other links in the chat, and I'm hoping, are we seeing the gallery view? So we see Kimberly and Niema and Entheo and Shiloh. Those of you, that's good. So a couple of things I want to offer as we're closing is, one is, if what we're doing here with the Islands of Coherence is inspiring you and serving you, then make a contribution so that we can keep doing this work, right? It's time that we channel the resources that are flowing through our lives to things that are really serving us. And you know, these kind of projects aren't getting funded by big boys anymore, right? It's really going to be individual people saying, yes, we need more of this. This is serving. And it doesn't take a lot. It actually just takes each of us saying yes. So we've had about 45 people who have contributed out of the 3,800 people that have registered and the thousands of people that are watching. And this is a really good moment to actually choose to say, yep, we need more of this happening on the planet. So please, give if you can. And if you can be generous, then be generous, because then you can be generous on behalf of those that can't. And another link I'm going to put in is that we are working with two organizations, Global Tracker and newstory.earth, and they're creating surveys for us. And I just put a link to the newest survey in the chat and to the survey results from last week. And all of these links that I'm telling you about are all on the Islands of Coherence on the page with the replays for this. So everything's there. The Thrive, link to the Thrive trailer, to Entheo music. There's videos that you can watch of Niema and Shiloh and others. So everything is there. So it's a good place to go to find it. And definitely take the survey for us. We had such a great response to the survey, and we learned so much already about the growing islands of coherence that are emerging. The last thing, and really important for today, and I'm going to ask Theo and Amma just to riff just a tiny bit while you're collecting the links from the chat. Is that we have a community integration lounge that happens immediately after this. And that's hosted by Dirk and Hillary from Global Hotspot. And if you copy that link there and the passcode, which is Coherence9, join us. And that's where we go into a group setting and we can share about our experience today. We can offer our own thoughts. We can be in breakout groups with other people who are doing the same. And it's a powerful way to integrate everything that we went through today. And I just really want to thank everybody for going a little deeper today, right? Like, it's one thing to have an experience of coherence, and it's wonderful, and we all love these sessions. And then we're faced in our real world. So to bring what's happening in our lives into the space and have us bring our coherence from there, like in the truth of what is the most powerful thing that we can be doing. So Theo and Amma, how about just a little something while people are collecting the links in the chat, just to take us out with your music, and then we'll meet you over in the Coherence Lounge.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Teresa.
Thank you. I am the darkness that is the light. I am the stillness. I am the darkness that is the light. I am the stillness that is dancing. Taller than a mountain, wide like a sky, deeper than an ocean, longer than time, falling like a fountain, born to fly, out beyond my horizons, into the night. I am the darkness that is the light. I am the stillness is dancing.
Thank you. Thank you, Kimberly. Thank you, Shiloh. Thank you, Niema. Thank you, Amma and Theo. Thank you, everybody that's been behind the scenes making this happen today. Definitely check out all of these links and come join us on the lounge if you'd like to just touch in a little bit more. Love you all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Beautiful.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.